I am Ruth Aguele. Let's take the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari and other African leaders in Sochi for Russia-African Summit. Federal Executive Council approves effective dates for new national minimum wage. Information Ministry defends its 2020 budget proposal before the National Assembly. And we'll begin from Sochi. The first ever Russia-Africa Economic Summit aimed at expanding and deepening relations between African countries and the Russian Federation is now underway in Sochi. President Muhammadu Buhari is leading Nigeria's delegation to the summit, which has as its theme Russia and Africa opening up their potential for cooperation. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Over 2,000 Russian and foreign companies have stood to be counted at the historic summit, reflecting the new push by the Russian Federation to expand its clout on the African continent. President Muhammadu Buhari and 42 other African heads of state and government, experts, leading industrialists and businessmen are also participating. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, while declaring open the summit, said economic issues are not only indispensable but essential part of his country's relations with Africa, which he said is becoming the core center of economic growth in the world. He said although Russia's annual trade with African nations doubled in the last 5 years to exceed $20 billion, this, according to him, is clearly not enough, with the continent whose GDP growth rate is expected to reach $29 trillion by the year 2050. The Russian leader expressed the belief that there are many potential partners in Africa with good perspectives and an enormous potential for growth.
Russia intends to expand its network of trade missions, support businesses, and foster new ties. Is willing to present our African partners the possibility of setting up a nuclear industry on a turnkey basis, as it were. Many Russian companies are working with different branches of the African economy, and they are willing to further expand their presence in Africa, and we most certainly are going to support these plans at the government level.
The chairman of the African Union and president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, encouraged Russian companies to expand their investments in Africa, saying there is an opportune moment for that now.
Africa is embarking on the new phase of economic development linked to the new opportunities of the markets. We pledge to provide optimum conditions for implementation of the development programs that will help Africa to embark on the way of progress and well-being and stable development. I would like to emphasize in conclusion that cooperation with African countries should be based on mutual interests and principles of protection of African property that would enable to ensure the sustainable development.
President Muhammadu Buhari, accompanied by the governors of Ekiti, Gombe and Zamfara states, as well as several ministers, is expected to address participants at the Economic Forum on Thursday. From Sochi, Russia, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And back home on the 2020 appropriation bill, the two chambers of the National Assembly has reaffirmed that they will ensure the 2020 budget has no defect, especially in the area of leakages, in order to channel funds in the right direction. This affirmation kick-started the public hearing on the 2020 National Budget Open in Abuja.
Fund that we are facing this country. The revenue is not too good. But yet, a lot of good provisions are contained in the budget to address power problems, works and housing, transport, and so on and so forth. It is something that is good and commendable.
Responding to some concerns raised by Nigerians, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, and other ministers expressed optimism that the budget will be implemented in good time for the benefit of all Nigerians. And still on the budget, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has restated the need for more funding for the ministry. The minister said this during the 2020 budget defense before members of the Joint Committee of Information and National Orientation of the National Assembly. Anthony Forson will tell us more.
Opening his defense, the minister began with a breakdown of how the 2019 budgetary allocations were released to facilitate the achievement of the ministry's mandate. For the year 2019, the sum of 1.5 billion naira was appropriated for capital expenditure, out of which about 759 million has been released so far, translating to about 60% budget performance. Even though the ministry did not get sufficient funding, the minister said the ministry was up and doing in the discharge of its mandate.
We suffer grossly from inadequate funding because we run advocacies, campaigns, not just for the executive arm of government, even for the legislative arm of government. When resolutions are passed, we are asked to advertise them. We will continue to do our best. We continue to hold town hall meetings, which we found extremely very useful. Last time we held 16 town hall meetings all over Nigeria.
Pointing out that the ministry is not an internally generating revenue ministry, it would most appropriate for its budget size to be raised.
The media is a very expensive enterprise. We don't have, we wish we could have more funding for our projects, but we also understand the constraints of government in the sense that our obligations are growing much faster than the ability to generate revenue.
To this end, the sum of over 3.9 billion naira has been budgeted for the year 2020. Personnel cost is put at 2.9 billion, while overhead will take 900 million naira, and capital is pegged at 1.1 billion. Members of the Joint Committee in their different submissions expressed concern as to how the ministry has been coping in the face of high cost of information management, especially when it has to do with the image of the country. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And it was the turn of the Nigerian Television Authority to defend its budget at the National Assembly as the race to beat the December deadline for passage of the 2020 appropriation bill continues. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday quoted the Director General of the NTA saying the largest TV network will not relent in its mandate.
The Nigerian Television Authority led other agencies in the Ministry of Information and Culture to defend their 2020 budget estimates before the Joint Senate and House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values.
The total budget proposed for the Nigerian Television Authority.
The Director General Yakubu Ibn Muhammad explained how NTA management judiciously utilized the funds allocated to the organizations in the past, especially in the areas of upgrade of state stations and improvements of its permanent sites, which was abandoned since 2005.
In addition to offices, the building has 4 large studios, and we used one of the studios to cover the 2019 elections.
On the issue of free services, the Director General says
NTA may be partially commercialized, but that fact does not blind us to our social responsibility. There are certain things that have to be paid for, but in the national interest, NTA does it for free.
Yeah, release NTA.
The satisfied committee asked the DG to take a bow.
It's a citizens engagement agency mainly.
The National Orientation Agency, Voice of Nigeria, News Agency of Nigeria, APCON and Nigeria Press Council all took turns to also defend their estimates.
Government and stakeholders should fund the council, but we have issues with stakeholders.
A major request by the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria is the need to reawake all its shortwaves transmitters.
It is unfortunate again that Radio Nigeria does not have a single channel that can reach each and every nook and cranny of this country. We rely heavily on the FM stations.
25% remittance on.
The National Broadcasting Commission made submission on having the highest internally generated revenue.
We're proposing 4,703,783,992 naira.
At the end of the session, however, some of the agencies were directed to come back with comprehensive documents to defend their proposals. From the National Assembly, Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
And to judiciary now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered all parties in the police recruitment matter to maintain status quo as the issue undergoes litigation. The presiding judge, Justice Iyank Ekwo, gave the restraining order this Wednesday. Justice Iyank Ekwo also granted an application joining the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, as a party to the suit. The application for the joinder of the Attorney General of the Federation was moved by counsel to the defendants, Alex Izion, SAN, who told the court that the AGF was a necessary party to the suit. Counsel for the plaintiff, Kanu Agabi, SAN, did not object to the application of joining the Attorney General of the Federation as a necessary party. The Police Service Commission, as plaintiff in this matter, is seeking an order against the defendants and their agents from appointing, recruiting, or attempting to appoint or recruit by any means whatsoever any person in the Nigeria Police Force. The Inspector General of Police, the Minister of Police Affairs, and the Attorney General of the Federation are the defendants in the case. The court adjourned further proceedings on the matter to November 4th, 2019. Well, let's take a break now. We'll be back, so don't go anywhere.
Maybe say now 2 or 4 days when my girls won't come visit and I need to go expire.
Oh, my guys, they can't follow me watch this match. I must not fall the hand.
Babe, what's happening now? Sorry to disappoint you, but my subscription don't expire.
The match is not on my GoTV package.
Now your holla be that. I beg, give me your phone. Look, I show you how you go take do it for my GoTV app for your phone.
Life is so much easier with my GoTV app. Make payments, clear error messages, change your package. You can also check your due dates and keep abreast of your payment history. The new My GoTV app is everything you need in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download My GoTV app now from Google Play or App Store to enjoy the easy life. GoTV. Live it, love it.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thanks for staying with us. The Federal Executive Council has approved April 18, 2019 as the effective take-off date of the new minimum wage. The Council also directed the Wages and Salaries Commission to design a template as advisory to states and local governments for the negotiation of the consequential salaries. The Federal Ministry of Communications is now to be known and addressed as Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. State House correspondent Jide Onifade has this and other deliberations at the Council's meeting this Wednesday.
Well, it is jarring news coming from the Council's chamber as the Federal Executive Council holds its meeting, which was chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The Council considered the effective take-off date of the new minimum wage and also having necessary infrastructure in the nation's airports. The Council was briefed on the outcome of meetings between the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment and the leadership of the Nigerian workers, as well as the consequential adjustment for military and paramilitary. Minister Chris Ngige speaks on this while briefing the press.
Also approved for us that the financial implications worked out and the attendant payments should be completed on or before 31st December 2019. The Council further directed that the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, through the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, should effect all these payments as scheduled before 31st December 2019. Council further directed also that National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission and the Ministry of Labour and Employment should send the consequential amendment, adjustment table, wage table, down to the states and local government as an advisory document for their information and guidance as they negotiate with their joint National Public Service Councils in their respective states, because the national minimum wage is a national law.
Minister of Aviation Adi Sirika says the ministry continues to enjoy the attention of the federal government as the Federal Executive Council at its meeting approves the purchase of communications equipment for the Zaria Airport.
This is all in our efforts to ensure that we remain safe and secure within our environment, and also, very importantly, to make air transportation much more efficient. I'm putting it to you that Mr. President has graciously approved the counterpart funding to quickly finish the new Lagos terminal and that of Kano. We will, by the grace of God, deliver Kano in December. We will also, by the grace of God, deliver new Lagos before Easter, together with that of Enugu.
One way to help us completely solve this problem of gas flaring is to convert the natural gas into methanol. Methanol is a liquid that finds use in virtually all sectors of the...
And the Federal Ministry of Communications is now to be known and addressed as Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. Minister of the Ministry, Issa Pantani, explains the reason for this.
Came up with the proposal knowing that digital economy today is about to dominate the world. And even in Nigeria, if you look at it critically, the contribution of ICT to our GDP, gross domestic product, is increasing by the day.
Some of the Federal Executive Council members are away with President Muhammadu Buhari in Sochi, Russia, attending a 3-day Russia-African summit, while some are also defending their budget at the National Assembly. This explains the reason for their absence at the meeting. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And next is business news with Onenge Fineface.
Now, port and cargo business in Nigeria and the whole of West Africa will soon receive a boost as the largest port in West Africa, built to cost $1.1 billion, is to be located in Lagos, Nigeria. The project is being sponsored with Chinese money. About $630 million was sourced from the China Development Bank, while the remaining $470 million was gotten in the form of equity from China Harbour Engineering Company. Nigeria Ports Authority has 5% and Lagos State 20%. Oil prices were changed a little as lingering worries over a global economic slowdown that could hurt oil demand offset some signs of progress in US-China trade talks. Brent crude oil futures were down 6 cents or 0.1% to $58.90 per barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude futures were flat at $53.31 per barrel. Brent has fallen 22% from its April peak, while WTI is down 20%, although there are some signs of easing tensions between the world's two largest economies. Now, commodity markets were cautiously optimistic amid signs that a trade deal was close to being signed by the United States and China. Let's see prices of commodities on the domestic and global markets. That's it on the business segment of the news. I'm Onengiye Fineface.
Buhari has extended warm wishes to Professor Olu Aina former Registrar, Chief Executive, National Business and Technical Examinations Board, on the joyous occasion of his 80th birthday on October 24. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the President salutes the octogenarian for his trailblazing and shining example in promoting training in vocational and technical education, which is essential to fostering sustainable economic growth and poverty reduction in the country. It adds that President Buhari believes that Professor Aina has always been at the forefront of impacting excellence in technical education that helps Nigerians acquire the right skills and training needed to succeed in the labor market. And as family, friends, former students and well-wishers celebrate Professor Aina, the President prays Almighty God to grant the senior citizen more years of health, happiness and fulfillment. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on his election victory. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the President also felicitates with the Liberal Party of Canada and Canadians generally on the outcome of the federal election in the country. It adds that as a major trading partner with Nigeria-Canada trade, President Buhari looks forward to continued relationship with Prime Minister Trudeau across a wide range of shared values and interests, while emphasizing that with the common membership of Nigeria and Canada in the Global Counter-Terrorism Forum and several other international organizations, the Nigerian leader trusts that both countries will continue to stand together on issues of peace and security that guarantee a better and more secure world for all. And still staying on the foreign scene, let's get more details with Ilyasu Ali Yakubu.
Glad to have you join me on this segment of the news. Russia is hosting a major summit for dozens of African leaders, an indication of its growing role as a key player in the region. The Soviet Union used to have a major presence on the continent, but its economic and political clout when in the post-Cold War period. President Vladimir Putin says the strengthening of ties with African countries is one of Russia's foreign policy priorities. Russia has been boosting its political contact in the region, with 12 African heads of state visiting Moscow since 2015, 6 of them in 2018 alone. The development has prompted some concern among key Western powers who are feeling being outplayed by Moscow. In another development, polling stations have opened in Botswana in a general election being seen as most closely fought since the country gained independence in 1966. More than 900,000 registered voters will decide a contest between the ruling Botswana Democratic Party and a coalition of opposition parties under the umbrella for democratic change. The country's politics has been shaken up by former President Lankama, who has denounced his successor, Magwizi Masisi, for reversing many of his policies, including a ban on elephant trophy hunting. That's it on the segment. My name is Ilyasu Ali Yakubu.
Thank you, Ilyasu. And talking sports, Nigeria Olympic Committee recognizes the role of women in sports development, as Amanze Marcos reports on our